What if writing scripts for your YouTube videos didn't have to be so freaking hard? And what if there was a way to do it and the process was actually easier and actually making scripts that got higher retention and more people watching? Well, most people struggle with writing scripts for their videos because they're missing just a couple small tweaks that I have personally found to be critical on whether a video actually succeeds or fails on YouTube. So my goal by the end of this video is to share with you what I've learned that has made this process not only easier, but had way better results on the videos on my channel. So let's get into it. I've created quite a few videos on this channel about scripting videos. And this is one of those topics that I keep diving into and focusing on to try to master my craft in this area. And throughout this process, I've tried a lot of things, right? And there's been a couple things that has been a major shift for me. And one of the cool things about it is you don't have to be some pro copywriter or script writer or anything like that. But before we get into that, let's have some real talk, right? One of the big reasons that most scripts fail is that a lot of creators think about and create their video scripts in chronological order, right? The order in which things happen or the process of the video. But here's a key point. The magic of your video scripts isn't in the beginning. That isn't where the magic happens. The real magic of your video scripts is what we call the payoff. And that is the part of your video where people get that big aha moment, that big moment where they're like, oh my gosh, I never would have thought of that. Or, wow, that's really smart, right? The part of the video that contains the true value of what you're teaching. So as you approach your scripts, I want you to think about that. What is the big aha moment that I want to lead people to? And every part of your script should build towards that moment. But if you don't hook them in the beginning, well, then it don't matter where you put that payoff at, right? It don't matter how good the rest of your script is if we don't get them to stick. And if you've ever went into your analytics and looked at your retention graph on your videos, well, most people click away in the first 30 seconds. And typically that's because your hooks aren't strong enough. People don't see the reason why they should stick around for the rest of your video. So instead of starting with a long-winded intro or ramble, start by making a bold statement or start by making a thought-provoking question, right? If you think back to the beginning of this video, I said something along the lines of, what if writing scripts for your videos didn't have to be so freaking hard, right? So that's an example of a thought-provoking question. Another good way to start your videos is with a metaphor, comparing what you're teaching to something that is well known. For example, on my channel, I could do a metaphor that says, video scripting is like Netflix binge watching. So as you create your videos, I want you to think about, it's kind of like you're creating this emotional journey for people as you take them through your videos. And that's where the storytelling piece comes in. So one of the things I want you to think about, did you realize that our brains are actually wired to remember stories, but not things like facts, right? So if you want to make content that is memorable and relatable that sticks with people, well, by injecting stories into your content, that can have a major impact. So as you create your videos, instead of diving straight into tips all the time, start with a relatable story. How can you connect with that viewer in a relatable way by telling a story? For example, in this video, I could tell a relatable story about how when I used to sit down to write video scripts, I would feel overwhelmed or, I was staring at a blank screen and I couldn't just get the words to come out. And then I could say something like, until I discovered what I'm going to teach you in this video and roll into the tips. So now I told a story that talks about me that's relatable to the people in my audience, and now they're engaged. Now they're intrigued. Now they want to know more. What did you do to change, right? Because they want that same transformation. And now you've said, hey, here's where you are now. Here's where you want to be, and the tips I'm about to teach you are going to help you get there. But great storytelling isn't just sharing what happened. Telling really good stories that get people engaged is about creating some level of emotion. And the way I like to think about this is, as I tell a story, I want it to have an impact, right? I want the person listening to what I'm saying actually feel some type of emotion out of a story that I'm telling, right? So I want them to feel excited or happy, because if I can get them to feel that, that can be powerful. So if I went back to a story example, I might say something like, before I learned this tactic, I was creating video after video that were boring. Nobody was watching, nobody was clicking, but here is what turned it around. So I'm sharing struggles that are relatable, and I'm building excitement by letting them know that I'm going to share what turned it around. And I changed my tone of voice. I went up and down. I sped up and slowed down. Those are the little things that make your stories even more powerful. And here's something else I want you to think about. Has there ever been a time where you've stayed stayed up all night watching a TV show or a Netflix series. Because right before that episode ended, you just had to know what was going to happen next. Well, that's because TV shows and TV series have mastered what we call open loops, or what you could call a curiosity gap, right? Where you want to know what happens next. And it works for YouTube just like it does anything else. So all throughout your video scripts, you can open loops by saying things like, hey, I'll show you how this technique works step by step, but first let's talk about this. Or by saying things like, but that's just the first part. Here's where things get interesting. Or leaving them with cliffhangers. That's how TV shows get you to watch and stay up all night, eating popcorn, downing the snacks, watching episode after episode. So as you create your video scripts, think about how you can open loops and keep people constantly thinking what's coming next. You can even use tools like ChatGPT to help you come up with that as you write and develop your scripts. Now, another thing I want you to think about is that great scripts often don't start from a blank page. Remember that whole story I told about, staring at a blank screen? Well, I found for me personally, one of the ways that helps me come up with good scripts is by working from frameworks or formats or structures for writing a script, right? So mapping out your script into sections like the hook, followed up with credibility, and the setup or outline of what you're going to be teaching in the video, and the payoff where you deliver the big value and the aha moment, and the close to open a loop for the next video, right? That's just one framework. That's a 5-step framework for creating a video. And there's a number of these out there like the hero's journey and all kinds of different storytelling methods that you can build frameworks from and create video scripts from. So I encourage you to never just start with a blank screen. Start with a framework and then start filling in the pieces of that framework. And I know every time that I talk about AI on this channel, people bash me in the comments, right? But guys, you got to embrace AI as a tool. I'm not saying that you need to go out there and have AI write scripts for you. And if you've actually watched any of the videos on my channel where I talk about this, I always show you how it's a workshop method with AI. Use it as a tool to enhance your scripts, not write your scripts. So coming up with those frameworks or story ideas or open loops or questions your audience might have about your content is where you can utilize AI tools to make your scripts even better. And guys, just know that writing good video scripts takes practice. Whether you use an AI tool or have done this hundreds of times, it's going to take time to get better at it. So guys, I hope you got a lot of value out of this and you're excited to script out your next video. I know sometimes it can feel daunting, but hopefully I've given you some tips in this video that you can begin implementing to make your scripts easier to create and hold people's attention longer. And if you got more tips than what I shared in this video, drop them in the comments.